This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
This is Mike, and you can find me at I am Mike White on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. So it's been a while, guys.
It has.
Yeah. It's been a couple...
It's been a couple weeks. I figured when we were doing the Summer of Sandler that we'd bang them out like week.
We're too awesome. We're too busy.
Right.
That's
and
true.
There's too many movies to sit through.
By us, we mean you, Mike.
Right,
Well,
right.
Yeah. You know, I had vacation, and then the wife and I bought a new house.
Yes, congratulations again.
Thank you very much. So we've been moving in and remodeling and renovating and doing all kinds of different stuff with it.
Nice.
But still, I had time to watch more Adam Sandler movies than anybody should watch in 3 weeks.
Or ever.
Yeah.
Forever, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. What did you guys think? Let's just, because this is part 2 of our Summer of Sandler. You can find part 1 in the show notes and on ObsessiveViewer.com. As a quick rundown, first of all, before we get into each movie individually, where do you guys stand on Sandler now that you've seen this second batch of movies?
Well, I was gonna say, you said I said more than I should watch in a given time, and you said or ever. And it's interesting that you said that. I was gonna say, well, the first section we did, Summer Sandler Part 1, started with I guess we mentioned Airheads, but kind of started with Billy Madison and ended with Big Daddy.
Right.
I felt like there was almost some hostility. You just kind of outright hated them all, and I felt like I had to try a little bit to defend them. This one, what I'm excited about with this episode, Summer of Sandler Part 2, is the stark contrast of the types of movies in this section. Mm-hmm. This is probably the section that, again, we're doing 2000 to 2004, and this is kind of just past the height of his success. And this is the one that really made me want to do this project because it has movies that are actually pretty good. And I won't say right away what those are, but it's the lowest of the lows and some actually really good movies.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, I don't necessarily mean to just outright antagonize us with this, but
That's all right though.
I mean, it's like this batch of movies, I kind of came to a conclusion about Sandler and his acting, and it's I'll delve into it more when we talk about it, but it's kind of like I was just kind of left bored with a lot of this stuff, even with the good movies. I was just kind of bored. He like in the last batch he had his whole like shtick or whatever that as I said in part 1, man, that just was like nails on a chalkboard to me. But with this, he's just very downplayed and just like average and normal to the point of just being completely mediocre to me.
Yeah. Well,
So-
you're ignoring the first movie in this episode.
Oh yeah.
But for the most part, you're right. Very, very
Right,
downplayed, very muted characters.
Yeah.
Almost kind of boring characters.
Yeah, we'll get more into it when we talk about each movie, but Tiny, what'd you think of this batch?
It was for the most part bare minimum effort on his part.
Yeah.
These were like middle of your career movies, sort of.
Yeah.
Which obviously because of where he's at in his career during this period, but I don't know. It felt like he almost didn't try to mix it up at all.
Right.
It was just very so subpar. Not even par. He just stuck to a subpar.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry, above par. Mixing up my golf terms here.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Not good.
Right.
I'm not a golfer.
Yeah.
No, it was not. Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll talk more about it later. Or as we move on.
So when we left off, we did Summer of Sandler Part 1, the 90s, right? We left off with Big Daddy, and kind of the consensus was that we all kind of liked it. And I think maybe one or two of us said that we think it's going to end up being the best of his career. In terms of his comedies, maybe?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I was the dissenter there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. And let me ask also before we move on, did any of you guys watch these in chronological order? Because I did not.
I wanted to, but I couldn't. The logistics of it it wasn't possible for me to do.
Yeah, it was kind of based on availability for me and,
Yeah.
and how I was able to watch some of them.
Exactly. Me too.
Yep.
Most of these were part of my collection, sadly enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, except our first movie, released November 10th, 2000, Little Nicky.
Full disclosure.
Go ahead. Disclose.
40 minutes, 48 seconds. That's how far into this movie I got before just turning it off and saying, all right, I'm not going to put up with any more of this. I couldn't get through this movie.
Then I got to give you an incomplete on your homework assignment.
You're gonna have to take the class again next semester.
Yeah, I blame
Yeah.
Sandler for that. Because, I mean, it was like, to put this into context, I'm not a person that turns off a movie like that, especially a movie that I'm watching specifically for a podcast that I'm going to be recording and putting out into the world to discuss it and everything. Like, that just doesn't happen at all.
Yeah.
But this movie was just so terrible that I saw enough of it to know that my opinion was not going to change. And that my opinion was low enough to where it wouldn't change either way, because I couldn't think any less of the movie.
Yeah, I was kind of proud. While I was watching it, I sent out a tweet that said, the point in the movie pitch where someone said, "There's going to be CGI dog pee," should have been the point where they said, "No, get the hell out of here," or something along those lines. 'Cause,
Yeah, that was a mess.
dear God.
I was thinking his face had to hurt
Oh my god!
from doing that face for filming it for months.
That, like, I have a note in my notes for this. I have a note that says, words can't express my hatred for Sandler's stupid permanent facial expression in this movie. Like, just looking at it was like, I just want to punch him so hard, so repeatedly, so often.
Yeah, the other way, so it goes back to normal.
Yeah, it didn't really seem to serve a purpose.
No.
No, it didn't.
So it was so annoying.
And his voice was really annoying too.
Yep. I'll say I laughed one time.
Yeah.
What part was that?
When you turned the movie off.
Yeah.
Before Carl Weathers showed up.
Oh, Carl Weathers was in it?
Yeah, as Chubbs from Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
Which I chuckled a little, and then they did so many Happy Gilmore references that, of course, it ruined the joke. They did all in the hips. It was all. They went way too much.
Wow.
Yeah, it was annoying. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was It was awful.
Yep. There's scenes at the beginning, like where they're in the church, and somebody says "raise the roof." Was this the time when "raise the roof" was a popular phrase?
Yeah.
Sure.
It was 2000.
Because one of the brothers kept doing they raised the roof in church and then went, "Hey, hey, hey."
That's right. Oh, I'm cringing all over again.
I know. I know.
Let's not downplay this though. The opening sequence featured John Lovitz being raped by a giant bird in hell.
Yeah.
Then it was all downhill from there.
Yeah. That was the best stuff they had.
Yeah.
There's a moment later on, in the kind of just before the climax happens, when they accuse on the news, they accuse Little Nicky of trying to do something. I don't know. I lost track, but the dog goes, "It's a setup," and I'm wondering who was that line for. Right, that's one of those forced lines where for the people who aren't paying attention to catch them up.
Jeez.
Okay, is that for the people who are so slow they're not following this movie? Who is that for?
Oh God.
It's a setup. Well, no shit.
Oh, God.
It's a setup. 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 It's a setup
See, we're trying to analyze the movie, and it is not subject to analyzation because it is beyond simple.
Yeah.
So these questions are not answerable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so low that they do raise the roof jokes.
Mm-hmm.
They laughs based on homophobia, which is a through line in all of his movies, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part for me was the really crappy rock soundtrack during like the worst years of rock music.
Yeah.
Except there's a Foo Fighters song, so never mind that.
Oh.
And is there a POD song in this, I think?
Yeah, that's included.
Yeah.
I was kind of obsessed with POD when I
Me
was
too.
Like,
Aha.
don't know
That's
why.
Yeah.
They're not awful, but they're not very good either.
We were the youth of the nation, Tiny.
Ugh.
What was there? Was it a POD song that kind of opened the movie, or was it a different band? I can't remember.
No, it was Running with the Devil, wasn't it?
Something like that.
I don't remember. But can we talk about like something that I noticed in this and Mr. Deeds, and I'm sure I probably toned it out for or tuned it out for the rest of these movies or whatever, but a common thing is the line. This is one of my biggest pet peeves in all movie and TV, and it's encompassed in this line where little Nicky is eating chicken, and then he just says the line, Popeye's chicken is f***ing awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Like, that most blatant of product placement.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I can forgive like some kind of product placement where it's like where if he's just eating chicken and it just shows it there and it's prominent on screen. But
Sure.
to have him say the line that this brand is awesome is so just bad.
Yeah. There was a line, and one of my notes is he doesn't know what eating is, but he knows who Tony Montana is.
Jesus.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah. Again, maybe I was giving it too much credit to pay attention that far to have made one of those notes, but just bad stuff.
Yeah, it was just bad all around.
And ironically, I think this movie has arguably the best cast, including cameos and everything.
Yeah, I mean Rodney Dangerfield's in it.
Freaking
Rodney Dangerfield,
Harvey Keitel.
Alan
Keitel.
Covert's back.
Oh God.
Harvey Keitel, Patricia Arquette, Reese Witherspoon,
Risa fans.
Reese fans. Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's a good cast.
Yeah.
Lots of cameos. Yeah.
Peter Dante,
Yeah.
who I'll talk about him in Mr. Deeds.
So after The Waterboy, which made 161 million, and Big Daddy made 163 million, this one made 39 million.
Oh.
Huh.
Nice.
So is this like the start? I think this is the start of people getting sick of him.
I think this is the start of people getting sick of his characters.
Okay, that's possible.
Yeah, because from there he reverted back to kind of Big Daddy type of fare.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, except, are we ready to move on, by the way?
Tiny, do you have any closing?
I'll say that I just kind of remember the one part of the movie that I laughed at, that at least I can remember, is the part where they're playing the records, and like they try to play the Ozzy Osbourne song backwards, and he's like, no, Ozzy was actually pretty straightforward with his messaging, and then he pulls out the Chicago album.
Yeah.
And that was genuine. I thought that was actually funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have one final closing thought on Little Nicky.
Please.
We've been questioning whether Adam Sandler has ever been good or if his talent was merely fluctuated. But after watching Little Nicky, or at least watching 40 minutes of it, I'm forced to wonder if his career will ever shake the cloud of shit that Little Nicky has given it. So that's kind of my thought process as I went into the rest of these movies, because I did watch this one first.
So are you saying that's the lowest of the low?
Yes.
Little Nicky is the lowest of the low for you. Okay.
Unequivocally lowest of the low, because, and I will say that because while I hated Going Overboard, I could at least almost respect what it was trying to do, because it was clearly like kind of a highly improvised kind of movie that was made on the fly. This is an established actor, an established team of people creating something that is just absolutely unwatchable for me.
Okay.
As an obsessive viewer.
Not only are you not doing your homework when it's due, but you're also not getting a jump on your homework, because clearly you haven't seen That's My Boy or Jack and Jill yet.
I have not. I'm saving those for when I absolutely have to watch them.
All right. So part 4, to be continued with part 4.
Yeah.
So to get back on track before we get off the rails, he did a movie, The Animal, which was for Rob Schneider. He was just a little cameo. But then the following summer, he did Mr. Deeds.
Yes.
And I think this one's a polarizing one.
I think it is too.
It made a lot of money again. I mean, it didn't make Big Daddy money. It made $126 million. It was kind of ranked pretty high that summer. But I don't know. It's not his best, nor is it close to his worst.
True.
Yeah. I'll kick off this discussion just really quickly. Wendy's product placement. Come on.
A little bit.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's the other big one of this batch of movies, is that, I mean, they literally fly. They stop and park in a Wendy's in a helicopter, and then there's a scene later where he's like, "Hey, buddy, how about those Frosties? I can't get them out of my mind." It's like, dude, fuck. If you want to go into advertising,
you really hate product placement.
I hate it with a passion, because I can't, because it literally derails the, art that's being presented. I mean, it's like, it's literally detracting from scene. It's taking lines away from plot and from comedy specifically to sell Frosties.
Tiny, do you hate it as much?
Chicken.
No, not at all.
Really?
No, neither do I.
Wait, I notice it. Like, I definitely notice it, and I'm like,
certainly
product placement.
Does it not bother you though when it infiltrates the dialogue of movies like this?
Not in Mr.
No,
Deeds.
and I think part of it for me is that I understand the business. Like, I know, not that this needed a humongous budget, but like, I know they have to do certain things, especially in a comedy when I know that sometimes they do it for a joke, and so they just, why not add it in as far as dialogue in an Adam Sandler movie?
See,
I would even rather that than them watch a movie on a Sanyo TV because they can't use Sony.
That's true.
I don't. That
to me is more
all.
distracting.
Like that, and like putting stickers on laptops and stuff. That stuff doesn't bother me in the least bit. I just hate when it becomes a part of the movie. Like when it's, I don't know. It just rubs me so much the wrong way that it's just, I'm really passionate about my hatred of product placement like that. Like, I mean, it's in a lot of movies, obviously. It's a big part, like you said, it's a big part of the industry. It's a big part of the business of filmmaking. But you can do it with subtlety. You can do it without sacrificing the story or time from the movie.
You can, but in this case, and you might go crazy here, I'm not even sure that it's totally against character. And in fact, I think it establishes a little bit of character. You get his friend, what's the butler's name? Not the butler. Not his butler, but the guy.
Yeah, the executive guy.
The executive. You get that he is a little softer than the other guy, and you get that he's developing a bit of a rapport with Deeds.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you that. And this is no Popeye's chicken. It's not.
Right.
But it's but it's still in the movie, and it still just bothers me just on such a deep level that I like, it can serve the story, and I will concede that it does serve the character development in this movie. But it's still like, they could have done something different. They could have gone a different route without having to, get money from Wendy's or whatever, or appease.
It's a case-by-case thing with me. Like, if it's in Mr. Deeds or Little Nicky, just do not care at all, because those are essentially what I'd call like a business movie anyways. Mm-hmm. They're just being made strictly on business decisions just to make money, essentially, which I think what a lot of these movies are, especially in this time period of his career. it's just all about making money. And so when I'm watching the movie, I'll take like a little bit of escapism and entertainment, and you can be as much big of whores as you want to be. But if I'm watching like, you know, a Tarantino movie and I see, you know, the Samsung phones displayed like a freaking billboard or something, you know, that gets to me a little bit. But nothing like what you're saying.
Yeah,
I understand.
And I mean, and I have bigger problems with it, like in House of Cards. Like that's the biggest example of just really product placement for me. Cause
I know, but again, they have to do that, especially with House of Cards.
Yeah,
for
but
the business sense.
But House of Cards is a much better piece of work than Mr. Deeds, and it bums me out. But my final thing about product placement is that this Mr. Deeds is a remake of 1936's Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, and I have to wonder, would Frank Capra have put a Wendy's in his movie?
I bet you he would have.
If it was 2002, he would have.
Yeah.
Well, all right then.
If it meant he could make his movie, probably.
Yeah.
Which there's a lot of movies and TV shows that might not get made without product placement. So.
Right.
It's a bit. I mean, you have to balance. It's all about balance. You know, you got to balance the business with the art, and this movie did not do it.
That's true.
But a lot of movies do, and shows.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you the bugaboo because there are a lot of there are a lot of lesser things that I hate more, but
and I was thinking
doesn't bother me.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this as I was getting my sandwich from Subway before we started recording, and when I went to eat fresh, and when I went to Yogu Latte here in Speedway on Main Street, for a cherry cordial mocha. It was delicious, by the way.
Yeah.
See, that didn't serve the podcast at all. Anyway, so Mr. Deeds.
Yeah. Winona Ryder in a romantic comedy.
Playing sort of a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Transformation, but still.
Sure. Charming.
Yeah, she was fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, and then again, like I kind of kept thinking, like, I wonder if Adam Sandler was like, you know what? I want to make out with Winona Ryder. And that's why they cast her.
I mean, if that's the case, he must do that for a lot of these movies.
He must really like Drew Barrymore then.
Yeah.
Yeah, he must.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you guys consider this one of his, like, characters? Like one of his Adam Sandler characters, you know?
No.
No, I don't, except that there is some malady, right? He's... Is it just the small town mentality he's got, or what?
Yeah.
There's something slowing him down.
I think it's the niceness to a fault.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's super, super nice and just ridiculously nonchalant.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I don't think it's a character. You know, obviously he's not Little Nicky.
Right.
But it seems like he has to have a gimmick for almost all of his characters.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an unfair judgment because
it is totally fair. If he is one of the producers, you know, if he's in charge of making these movies, or one of the movies, he's running with an idea.
Right. Yeah. Let me put it another way. I think he chooses gimmicks for his characters as opposed to choosing traits. Let me put it that way.
That's fair.
I think that's what he does, and I think there's a glaring difference between those two choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see it as, like my note says, Adam Sandler is at his most tolerable when he plays a likable, normal guy. And in this movie, he's a very likable guy. He's normal. He's kind of an everyman, but he's kind of, like you said, kind of a simpleton, kind of nice to a fault and all that. But I don't know if the fact that he's his most tolerable when he's playing these muted, normal characters, I don't know if that's an indication of a lack of range on his part or just a lack of respect for his acting.
It's the latter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see these kind of roles as kind of the height of his acting ability. And I mean, granted, I haven't seen Reign Over Me in a long time, so it could change when we get to that. But right now with these movies, it's like I like him a lot more when he's not doing anything, as opposed to when he's doing stupid antics.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think most people would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But this
The
movie,
question, I guess the real discussion is going to be when we get to the better movies.
Right.
And there are better movies.
I was just gonna say, and then the biggest, like the big stumbling block for us is that we will keep saying we're gonna get to the better movies until we get to the end and realize there are no better movies. But yeah, you're right.
There are always better movies.
There are. But like I said last time that I don't like Alan Covert.
Yeah.
Like really at all. And are you guys ready for my my analysis, my statement about him, my
Go ahead.
jab at him? Okay.
Sure. You built it up so much.
I did. Prepare yourselves, listeners. With a name like Covert, he's not very subtle.
So the next movie in our Summer of Sandler. No, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I wish you wouldn't have built that up so much because I would have given you a lot more credit had you just placed it in the conversation.
No regrets.
Not a single letter.
Nope. But no, I don't like in Mr. Deeds. He's probably the worst I've seen him in these movies so far.
Okay.
Because he's very...
Remember this character when we talk about anger management.
Oh yeah.
Remember his role in this movie when we talk about anger management.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
But I have a note, like, while I don't like Alan Covert, I think Peter Dante is a whole bunch worse. For me. And it's because Alan Covert, he isn't an actor. He's just Sandler's friend. But Dante is Sandler's friend who tries to act, but is just like -1 note for me. Cause he does that. Again, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Did you guys see Grandma's Boy?
Yeah, love that movie.
I did, and I actually really liked it. So I don't know where the disconnect is there with me and with them in Sandler movies.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I remember not liking it at all.
I haven't seen it in a couple years, so my opinion could change. I just thought it was kind of a goofy, fun movie, and I really like Linda Cardellini-Hart.
Okay. Funny though that you can't take that kind of attitude with a lot of these Sandler movies.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a weird disconnect there that I don't know exactly how to account for that. But let's move on and talk about John Turturro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was great.
A standout, a highlight in this movie.
I loved him in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
I still again we haven't had a movie in a while where something that is said in an Adam Sandler movie is part of my vocabulary, but the Betty Betty Sneaky Sir is something I say quite often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about it until I watched it.
I like the scene where he shows him his foot.
Yeah.
And like he's just, oh, you're sick. Why would you do that? Like, it's so stupid, but
it is.
It was for some reason it worked.
And that scene, like that swept like wildfire.
Oh yeah.
Too. Like people loved it. It was a big part of the marketing for the movie too, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and
but not the only laugh in the movie, which is more than you can say for a lot of these movies. There are more than 2 laughs in this movie.
Yeah, by all accounts, this is a high point in this batch of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though some of the comedy is a little lowest common denominator kind of stuff. Like I have a note saying lowest common denominator comedy with a very sloppy, half-hearted drama, and a lot of the characters are kind of archetypical characters that don't really have that much depth, like the villainous executive guys, and you know, it's kind of formulaic and stuff. But there's kind of this charm to it that it's this small town guy and fish out of water kind of thing. So, and I kind of like that a lot, and I really like the Winchesterton Fieldville scene. I thought that
Manchesterton Fieldville, Iowa.
Yeah, I thought that was really cute.
Winchesterton Field.
Winchesterton Field.
Yeah.
Ville.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was cute, and I appreciated the awkwardness of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totes.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of this one's one of the better ones. I think we lost our rating system on the somewhere around The Wedding Singer, but
right.
This one's passable.
Yeah. And last thing on my notes here is that the cats in the fire sequence where he runs and saves him from the building and all that. I thought it was just so stupid.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was time filler BS, because they spent almost an hour establishing that Deeds is a good guy and he wants to help people, but this is just reinforcing that.
Well, and it's also the catalyst for the little remix they do to paint him in a bad light.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I think it's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
Oh, I don't think it's funny.
Right.
Oh no, yeah, it's not funny.
No.
It fits, but it's horrendous.
I don't think it's filler though.
Huh.
I don't think it's filler because it serves a purpose in the plot.
Sure. But it could have been cut down considerably.
It could have been a much smaller example of his niceness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Or they
it's
should have done
also-
something else.
Yeah. They should have gone back to Wendy's, guys.
You're right.
But
You're right.
it was also a vessel for the Rob Schneider cameo from, he was reprising his role from Big Daddy, wasn't he?
From
I'm not familiar. Could you?
Yeah.
Yeah, from Big Daddy, you can do it.
Yeah.
I think I've just blocked it out from that. Like
Really?
whenever I see him, I'm just like, it's like a green screen essentially. Rob Schneider's a walking green screen.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, we missed. I wasn't gonna mention it, but he was also in Little Nicky.
Was he?
Yeah. Shit. Yeah,
Huh.
it was before. It was after you turned it off, Matt.
Okay.
So, okay, yep.
Giant crowd scene at the end. You can. Yeah. I'm not,
Oh
I'm
my
not-
God! Did he say that?
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
so
I
happy.
think he was even wearing the same outfit.
He is, and he says, "Bites his freaking head off."
Yeah.
I am so happy I turned it off now.
Yep.
Oh, that would have just infuriated me. Like we would, if I had stayed through to the end, I'm sure we would still be talking about Little Nicky right now because I would be so pissed off about it. Okay,
It's
wow.
really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, so do we have anything else for Mr. Deeds?
No, not much else to say.
Okay.
Yeah, same here.
Mostly because I'm excited to talk about the next movie on this list. In October of 2002, shortly after Mr. Deeds, we get the first real dramatic turn. Right? You might say Big Daddy is a dramatic turn, but again, we kind of established that that's mostly just him trying not to do a character.
Right.
But Punch Drunk Love came out.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys liked this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I really like this movie.
I have a sneaking suspicion that you did not like this movie, Mike.
Yeah.
It's so Kubrickian that it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I say that because I know that you're not a Kubrick fan. But that's
The scene where he is the phone sex scene, the establishing scene with that character. The solitude, the lighting, the music toward the end, the colors. There's the psychedelic colors in the movie. It's very Kubrickian.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I notice and I appreciate, surprisingly, in Paul Thomas Anderson movies is that he's very Kubrickian. He's very, very influenced by Kubrick. And I mentioned this in the pod chat that he's a filmmaker who can get away with emulating Kubrick, which is a big feat because Kubrick is a very unique filmmaker. Because he does it with talent. And he does it with these movies that are an examination of a certain character. Like they're not Kubrickian to be Kubrickian. They're Kubrickian to be a character study of like one or several characters in a big piece.
Right. The types of movies, the types of projects he chooses are very very solitary. The characters are very solitary. There's one and he follows that character.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of The Master. Well, The Master is more the two of them, but There Will Be Blood, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, Kubrick and P.T. Anderson have become both two of my favorite filmmakers of all time, easily. And I've actually learned to separate the two of them so much. I think P.T. Anderson is only like Kubrick visually, and that's about it, really. I think otherwise their writing is hugely different in my eyes.
I would say that except for this movie. I think this movie is very Kubrickian in terms of the writing.
See, I don't see that. I don't see it at all.
I think it's too quirky to be Kubrickian.
Yeah, it's too quirky.
Okay,
and
maybe.
It's too dialogue-y. Because, I mean, look at Eyes Wide Shut. Man,
Yeah.
movie. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's drags like a son of a gun.
Yeah.
Anyways,
See, I thought this movie dragged a lot.
Oh, see, I didn't see that at all.
I didn't think so either.
Okay. Yeah, it's just we just differ so much on Mike and the two of us.
Right.
Yeah.
We do. This is definitely a taste one. I can see, clearly I can see that there's an upturn here from his last role.
Yeah.
We can talk about the movie all we want, but again, it's the Summer of Sandler. What do you guys think of Sandler in it?
I liked him.
Me too.
I was surprised to see him adapt to such a precise kind of film because he's such a formulaic actor,
Right.
And filmmaker, obviously. But again, I as an overall theme for at least these two segments of his career that we've analyzed so far, he demonstrates that he's capable of pretty high level acting. I mean, some quality acting. But
that's what I wanted to hit on.
He chooses not to do it most of the time.
Right.
And
right.
Exactly. That's the biggest issue I have with him. He sort of operates as a businessman as opposed to an artist.
Right.
Or maybe just kind of a guy who wants to get his friends together and make a dumbass movie.
Yeah.
Which maybe once in a while, okay, but that's just about all he's done over the last 2 decades or so.
And he's got kind of in this movie, it's a subtle performance, and it's very, it makes me wonder if it's more a note for, I fumbled that. It makes me wonder if this is more to do with his choosing to act this way, like to actually act in a movie, or if it's due to P.T. Anderson's directing. Because it could have been that he pulled the performance out of Sandler.
Well, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but
go right ahead.
You did not watch Spanglish, right?
I didn't get a chance to, but I did see it before, and I remember liking it a lot. But does he?
I would argue there's real talent there.
Okay, I'll have to revisit it, and I'll have to dig up a copy and find reevaluate it. But
then even Airheads. I mean, he did some acting in Airheads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. But I will say that Punch Drunk Love for me. Just as a movie, I loved it as a movie, as a character study, as a nice piece about a guy with like suffering from kind of a depression and finding love and overcoming his anger and stuff like that. I liked it a lot. Small piano and everything. And I would go so far as to say that this movie is kind of the and again, having not seen Spanglish for this episode, this movie Punch Drunk Love is like the equivalent of what Bulletproof was for me in the first segment. Like, I wish that he did more roles like this. I wish that he would branch out more, but apparently he only has one of those every decade or every 5 years.
Yeah. I really loved his chemistry with Emily Watson. I've seen her in tons of stuff. She's never bad. Right. She's always a terrific. She's the opposite of Sandler.
Right.
She's a terrific actress, but I was kind of surprised to see him ascend to her level as far as the chemistry goes in this. Because I thought they were terrific together. I totally bought them as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. And also another thing to say about this movie and P.T. Anderson's writing is he's like one of the least predictable writers I can think of. Like, you just never know where this movie or pretty much any of his movies are going to take you. I mean, you can't predict what the next step is. And I think that's a fun aspect of his writing.
Well, he writes the way, I've always read that like some really good writers, really good like novelists write in a way where they'll find a character and then they'll just start writing without knowing what the ending is going to be. Right. And I wish that I could write that way. I cannot. I have to know where it's going to go. And they kind of just like let their characters make the decisions for them. And I think that's pretty clear in all of P.T. Anderson's work and evidently here in Punch Drunk Love as well.
Yeah, it's a form of creative genius, in my opinion, to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how Stephen King writes, and a lot of his books don't
kind of shows
end well.
Yeah.
So there's kind of the middle ground of that form.
Right.
And there are times where it doesn't turn out well for P.T. Anderson. Did you guys see The Master?
Yeah.
that didn't.
I thought the first half of that movie was fantastic.
So did I.
Agreed.
Also, not to go on a tangent, but the filmmaking in that movie was just astounding.
Yeah.
Like there was a scene where I don't think there's like any dialogue, but Joaquin Phoenix is on the beach.
Yeah.
And it's like a very like wide shot, and it goes on for like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing it in the theater, and I saw it at Keystone Art here in Indianapolis, and I had like 3 or 4 beers before going in, and I was just like, I really got to take a piss. But I still appreciated the filmmaking of that movie.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and he's very, very good with those kind of wide shots, wide angle shots, and all like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I like about him. But we'll save that for our P.T. Anderson retrospective eventually.
Sure. When it opened in October of 2002, it opened on 5 screens its opening weekend, and ultimately only made close to $18 million, which is his lowest since I guess Billy Madison.
Oh wow!
But that's pretty typical for a P.T. Anderson movie.
That's true.
Sure. Yeah.
Did it have any Oscar buzz? Do you guys remember? Because I remember it was a good like critical success. I thought.
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't recall either.
Yeah, I know Sandler didn't get nominated clearly.
No.
Because I don't think he'd ever let us forget it. I don't know the guy. But
Yeah, I don't think he would dwell on it whatsoever.
I don't think so either. I just wanted to make that joke.
I'm looking at IMDb right now. Yeah. Not nominated for any Oscars.
Okay.
It's nominated for 1 Golden Globe.
Oh.
Best performance by an actor in a motion picture, comedy, or musical. Adam Sandler.
Luis
No
Guzman.
way.
Oh.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm surprised. Suck it, Matt.
Yeah, I was just trying to make a joke.
You
Yeah.
gotta say like Adam Sandler. Suck it!
Yeah.
Or whatever he's, I don't know.
Shooter!
There you go.
Oh God.
All right. Moving on.
Popeye's chicken is delicious. F***ing awesome.
Awesome.
Fucking awesome. God, I hated that so much. Anyway, so moving on.
We're gonna stick, I think, or at least for me, in a positive point in his career. This is a weird left turn, I think. It's his first animated movie. That holiday season in 2002, just 1 month after Punch Drunk Love, November 2002, 8 Crazy Nights. Did you guys see this movie?
8 crazy
Crazy Nights.
I did not get a chance to watch this all the way through. I started it, and then I was really sleepy. So I apologize.
I asked if you guys had watched them chronologically early on, because this is the last one I watched. In fact, I watched this just hours before recording it. So I watched Little Nicky, and I watched Anger Management, which we'll get to in a little bit, which were turd sandwiches.
Right.
And this was actually a breath of fresh air.
Totally.
Nice.
Surprisingly was, yeah.
I liked what I saw of it. I really liked the animation. And
hand drawn.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot anymore.
You really don't. And it was that itself was refreshing. And I got a taste of the story and everything, and I liked it, because you don't, like with holiday movies, it's always like dominated by Christmas and all that. And I mean, this is a Hanukkah movie. You don't see that at all, really.
Yeah.
And it was just,
and they play on that. There's the scene toward the end where Whitey is losing the award, the patch that he wants to get, and it's either the mayor or John Lovitz, when I think it's the mayor, when he's addressing the town and the youth basketball league, and he says, to all those people out there celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas, everybody cheers. And then he goes into all the Jewish families around here celebrating Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah, and then in the back of the room, two people are like, Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. Which is how
I laughed out loud. That was pretty funny.
That's how every Jew feels on Hanukkah.
right.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, you're right. This was a breath of fresh air. Surprisingly for me, because it does have a bunch of typical Sandler movie flaws. There are,
and his voice.
Yes.
3 times.
So much. I kept a track. Well, I try to sort of keep a loose mental list of the like bottom of the barrel kind of jokes. I think there's like 2 fart jokes. There's at least 3 or 4 poop jokes, and there's like 2 or 3 burping jokes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's, to me, a bodily function joke is scraping the bottom of the barrel.
It is. However, in this case, because it's a children's movie, I gave it a pass.
Not a children's movie.
It's a PG-13, so I guess you're
Yeah,
right. It's not a children's movie, but it's a preteen movie.
Another huge problem I had with this movie. I think this is probably the most egregious example of him pulling expletive punches, because he drops some really blatant, like heavy, like, oh, that's bullshit, stuff like that.
True.
And it's like he bounced back and forth between like, oh, this is like a G-rated animated movie and
that's true.
PG-13 animation, and it really did not mesh well at all for me.
Huh.
I really did not like that part of it at all.
You're right. I'll give you that. I guess I mistook it for a children's movie most of the time.
Right.
And in a kid's movie, I can give that stuff a pass, the fart jokes and the burp jokes.
Well, there's a half dozen anthropomorphized deer.
Right.
So,
and musical numbers.
Musical numbers, yeah. And they're cute, fun kid movie songs.
I would like to say something in defense of fart jokes.
Go ahead.
That was a terrible fart.
It was
sound.
really terrible.
Just blow your nose?
I'm going to
Did you sneeze?
I'm going to edit in a fart.
We're going to talk about it so much you have to leave it in.
Yeah, I'll put one in post. No, I appreciate fart jokes and everything when they're done right, and I didn't get far enough in this movie to really get the fart jokes. But I would just like to say that I don't see it as scraping the bottom of the barrel if you have a well-constructed fart joke.
Yeah, context. It depends on context, but these were not good ones.
Yeah, I will concede to that opinion. But I just want to say that fart jokes on the whole, I appreciate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like there's a whole lot to say here. Voice work is something else. If you're trying to rate the mercurial nature of Adam Sandler's career, this one is, you almost can't put it on there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, should we move on?
Sure.
Yeah. What was Alan Covert's role in this movie?
Oh, very little. He was the voice of somebody, but not in it very much at all. Oh, I will also add that Rob Schneider as the Chinese waiter.
Oh my God,
was incredibly offensive.
So racist.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I loved him as the narrator.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Huh.
I really enjoyed that. It was like a sort of a Christmassy, or in this case, Hanukkah-y type narration, animated movie type narration, fun and warm and cheerful, and I liked it a lot.
Much like a fart.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Are you just trying to have more instances where you fart so you have to edit them in?
Yeah, but also just I don't have much to say about this movie.
The love interest, Jennifer, in the movie, played by Jackie Sandler.
His wife.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, she was fine.
Yeah, seems all right. That spring, April 11th, 2003, he released Anger Management, which actually made a buttload of money, $135 million.
With this movie, do you think that it was just, hey, I want to work with Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and they stopped thinking after that.
Yeah. I mentioned this in the pod chat. I watched this morning before I went to sleep, or tried to go to sleep. And like I mentioned in the pod chat that I fell asleep during a large portion of this movie, but I feel like Sandler did the same thing, because he's just really bland and mediocre in this movie. Like, he wasn't even trying. Mm-hmm. He was just, it was kind of bizarre to see him like that, because usually he's either really high or he's a mediocre kind of middle ground of a character with like little flashes of little character pieces in with him. But here he's just like going through the motions.
I was wondering at times if that was the character he was playing. If he was playing, I don't really know what to say in this instance, so I'm just going to be quiet and just do my Sandler mug. Or if it was just Sandler not trying. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to go with you, and it's Sandler not trying. But there are times where the character is so much like what Adam Sandler is trying to do that I was confused, where he kind of gets away with it. But make no mistake, I hated this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Same here. I was surprised that I didn't see his eyes moving back and forth like he was reading his lines off of a cue card.
Yeah. That's exactly how it felt.
Yep.
Exactly how it felt. Like,
but
there were. Oh, God.
I was gonna say, I'll side with Mike. to an extent, his counterpoint that I think maybe it was an aspect of his character, and when he chooses gimmicks for his characters as opposed to traits, like I said earlier, he does harp on them freaking hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
maybe it was an attempt on his part for that, and we were just misinterpreting it. But I don't want to give him that much credit.
So let me say this. Let me ask this about his character, and I guess the movie. That premise. So he's shy. And can't kiss his girlfriend, his fiance, or his would-be fiance.
Right.
So he gets sent to anger management. Nowhere in this movie, except when pushed to the brink, are we given any indication that he needs anger management. It's absurd. It's beyond absurd.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
He just needed some therapy. Just kind of
exactly. At least Little Nicky, and I don't want to say that Little Nicky is better than this movie. Clearly, it's not because of the character the whole time. But at least Little Nicky had a premise and stuck to it. There is no premise. There is no need for him to be in anger management. It's ridiculous.
Agree 100%.
I agree.
It drove me nuts. Yeah, he just needed he needed someone to talk to.
Yeah,
he didn't need an anger.
Exactly.
Yeah. It did not. It was
the way he tears down the walls of his life that he has built up, nearly gets him fired. It confronts bullies. This has nothing to do with the real problem that the character had.
Agree.
Yeah, and I will going back to the you guys positing the theory that he is just playing a character and that's what the character called for. I am going to disagree wholeheartedly with that.
Okay.
Just because there were scenes, like pretty much the majority of scenes where he is playing against Jack Nicholson, they're talking. He's supposed to have like this emotional or this dramatic, semi-dramatic reaction to, and every single time I looked and it was just a completely lifeless presence on screen. Like there was no, I don't want to say depth because I don't even know that the script really called for depth, but it called for a certain kind of energy, I guess. And it was kind of like when just watching Sandler, just his face, it was just like he's just completely not present at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that to an extent. And plus oh man, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to articulate it as well, but shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Damn it!
Take it.
It's all good.
My bad. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
This is in an interesting time. His children were born. The first of his children were born in 2006. And I don't want to jump the gun. We'll talk about this a little more in the Summer of Sandler Part 3. Oh my God, there's 4 parts. We'll talk about this more. That's kind of when he has kids in 2006, you can definitely see that he takes that turn toward the family fare. Mm-hmm. This I don't know what this movie is for. This, like Mr. Deeds, is a paycheck movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And an opportunity to work with Jack Nicholson.
And Jack Nicholson, sure.
Yeah.
I will say, and I made a note here, and I was doing I was doing a workout while watching the movie, so I was like watching the beginning out of the corner of my eye. And the meeting scene where he first goes to the anger management class and he meets all the characters, I think it's constructed well.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
There are good characters that, of course, don't go anywhere. It's an Adam Sandler movie. But it starts out well. I'm like, okay, this could be good.
Mm-hmm.
Again, John Turturro.
Yeah, he was great. He's always great. Even in Transformers, he's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, yeah, I'll give it that. That was the high point of the movie for me. That was kind of a highlight of the movie for me. Not because January Jones was a lesbian porn star.
Oh, I hate January Jones so much.
Yeah,
She's not very good.
Right. But
She's not.
She was cool in this one. No, but
I don't even think she's that attractive. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Does Amanda know that you're gay?
Yeah.
No, I think
Actually, she does. Duh.
I think she's smoking hot. I just think she's a terrible actress.
I think she's hot. I mean,
She's beautiful. I mean, she is beautiful in the traditional sense, but she is not. I guess it's the comic book nerd coming out in me. She is not the White Queen Emma Frost.
Right.
She is not, and that is just not fair that they cast her in that role. So I guess I'm kind of like offended and hold a grudge.
That was a
and she's also not a good actress, so that kind of bugs
That's
me.
what I was gonna say. Her lack of acting ability and range really downgrades her attractiveness for me.
She might be the reason I quit watching Mad Men.
Wow.
She is one of several reasons why I quit watching Mad Men.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
What
point.
were we talking about?
So January
Anger
Jones
management.
makes out with a girl. No.
That new metal score. It's almost like Fred Durst did the score for this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like really high pitched empty snare drums in like new metal rap rock. It was awful. Oh my God. Like every time there was, cause again, I was watching out of the corner of my eye, so it was mostly sound. And anytime there was a scene where they were driving or doing something, anything that necessitated score, of course, I would cringe.
I can't even remember the music.
Like I said, I fell asleep during a large portion of this.
Also, Johnny Mac, the Johnny McEnroe, the in and out joke, it's in, it's out, is so played out.
It was, it felt played out when he was in Mr. Deeds.
Yes, exactly.
It was like, because when did the whole John McEnroe thing happen? When did that occur?
Oh, the 80s.
The 80s, yeah. So it felt like, okay, maybe Sandler just met John McEnroe somewhere and liked him as a person, and he Alan Coverted him. That's my rationale for why he's in two movies.
He Alan converted him into his cult.
God damn it.
Oh,
yeah.
Wordplay. You're welcome.
I mean, he does that with a lot of people. I mean, that happened with, why can't I think of his goddamn name?
It's starting to happen with Shaq, which is
Yeah.
disturbing.
It happened with, it is now on with Shaq.
Right.
Has Shaq been in multiple movies?
At least
Yeah.
two. if not
Well,
three.
he was-
Blended and
What's what?
He was in
He was in Blended, and he was also in the Grown Ups movies.
oh yeah, crap.
Crap is exactly right. Henry Winkler is the name I was trying to think of, by the way.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
didn't look that up. It just came to me because I should know Henry Winkler.
Yeah, I like him.
So that happened with him. And he's just fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, the weird thing about this movie, I did see this in theaters, and it was kind of, I think Little Nicky even turned me off to Adam Sandler. So there was like the big, my Adam Sandler high with Big Daddy when that came out. And then for like 4 years, I didn't really pay attention to him. Mm-hmm. And then Anger Management came out, and I saw it just kind of because I used to like Adam Sandler. And I remember liking it when I saw it, but I remember thinking that it was different. And I think the different was it was not good.
Yeah.
Whereas Big Daddy was good.
Yeah. I think Little Nicky just, didn't just turn me away from Adam Sandler. It almost turned me away from movies as a whole.
Jeez.
I hated that movie so much.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
Yeah. So, I mean, Anger Management, it had like one or two points that I thought were worthy of the celluloid it used, but right, I don't know.
It is either the best of his bad movies or at the very bottom end of his good movies.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Man, I
can't decide which.
It was so remarkably unforgettable, or I'm so remarkably forgettable to me, that I think it's just barely a notch above Little Nicky.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Just
Wow.
barely for me.
Wow.
I don't
The
know.
script for me,
So
there
far,
were...
we still got 2 parts left.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna say thinking now what happens in part 4, this is definitely at the bottom of the okay list.
Right.
Okay.
The script was probably the biggest hurdle for me.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, there were so many, that and Sandler's phoned in performance, but there were so many instances where they're like, oh, we're doing this thing. Oh, no, wait, I'm just joking. Like, that was prevalent throughout the whole damn movie, where they just did like a little thing where it was like almost a little bit of conflict, but then they reel it back and it's like, oh, I'm just joking. I'm getting you back for something earlier. And it's like, it's this cheeky thing. And I'm like, the hell? That's stupid. It's so stupid. like there's such lifeless performances.
Yeah.
Pulling those off.
There is no character establishment that says these are jokey kind of guys.
Right, yeah.
That's like the best that they could come up with to show that they don't want to kill each other in that moment.
Yep.
I guess.
Yep.
I don't know. It's bad.
Yeah. Yep, so anger management sucked.
Anger management sucked a lot.
Yeah.
Very much.
Sucked lots of things. So after anger management, almost a year later, February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, 2004, romantic comedy, The Re-Teaming. They brought back Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore for 50 First Dates.
I forgot that we had this one left.
Yeah, there's this one and one more. Spanglish.
Yeah. This movie was basically Adam Sandler saying, "Hey, I want to film something in Hawaii."
Yeah.
Yes, it was. And he has gone on record to admit that.
Right.
That is what these movies are for. Like, all of these, when he does location scenes in movies. It started with this one, and he has admitted that is exactly what he's doing. However, I really like this movie a lot.
It's very sweet and cute.
It is.
It's very sweet.
Yes.
I liked it. I did like it. I will go on record and say that I did enjoy it quite a bit. Although I will say that the premise alone is just at the end of it when it's all kind of cutesy and everything's wrapped up like a tidy bow and everything. All I kept thinking was, what a tragic character Drew Barrymore is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I can't. And just the. I guess this is the asshole in me, but the burden on him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
To have to deal with the bad days. Like,
yeah.
The good days are going to suck, but he also has the bad days forever.
Right.
But she gets to fall in love with him all over again every day.
I guess. After she deals with, like, aging and...
Right.
Matt mentioned the premise. Let me say this real quick. I have to say this. As someone who has had amnesia... I tweeted this like last week. There's like a 36-hour period of my life I don't remember at all.
Really?
When I was
Expand on this.
I think I told you the story.
Probably.
When I was 8, I fell. I was actually at Market Square Arena where the Indiana Pacers used to play. Fell 10 feet, landed on my head on solid concrete, and had a severe concussion. And
wow.
Yeah, I was knocked unconscious for about 24 hours. I woke up in the hospital, but the whole day we were actually seeing the circus. Market Square Arena. I don't remember any of the circus.
Yeah.
I remember none of the day. And obviously the 24 hours I was unconscious, I don't remember. So I have suffered from amnesia. And so I've researched a little bit. This movie, obviously amnesia is the biggest plot point of the movie, arguably. And so...
I think inarguably.
I think when I watched... Yeah, when I watched this movie... I would say love is the biggest plot point, but whatever.
God damn it, so much.
Touche.
I'm sorry. I think I researched it when I watched this movie. The type of amnesia that Drew Barrymore has and that Alan Covert's character has, where Alan Covert's character can't remember any new memories past like 10 seconds.
10-second Tom.
Right, 10-second Tom. Mm-hmm. And then Drew Barrymore can only remember one day. That type of amnesia is so rare that it is statistically impossible for two people that have it to live on Hawaii.
Wow.
That's how rare this kind of amnesia is. It's statistically impossible, not literally impossible.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Statistically, and who's to say that that this is just it's that doctor played by Dan Aykroyd, is not like the leading doctor on that. So Alan Covert character, 10-second Tom, didn't move there.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I'll get too much credit.
Yeah, you are.
But yeah, anyway.
You ruined my main point, Matt. Or Mike, damn it.
It's Adam Sandler wanted to film in Hawaii. Let's just get back to that.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's not think too hard on this.
This one, I showed this at school, and the students really liked it a lot. But it really towed the line of what's appropriate to show at school. This is another one of those not a kids movie, but definitely not.
Yeah,
yeah,
it is. I didn't get to watch it for this, just because I didn't have time. I couldn't find a copy of it, but I remember watching it like around when it came out, and I liked it. It's a cute movie.
Yeah, cute is about the best way I can come to describe it. And I'm an unabashed. or unashamed or whatever fan of the rom-com genre.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yes, I hold it in a very dear place in my heart. So, and I appreciated this for that. I mean, you know, I've seen a lot of rom-coms. I've seen a lot of good rom-coms. I've seen a lot of just deplorable rom-coms. This was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep. There are things that are very not good about it. I hate Rob Schneider so much as Ula.
I can't even remember him.
You don't even have to say as his character's name. I just don't like him.
Just hate Rob Schneider. Yeah. You know what? I haven't seen it in several years, but I kind of liked Deuce Bigalow.
Really? I don't think I ever saw it because Rob Schneider.
Never saw it.
Yeah, because Rob Schneider.
In this, I'm sorry. Go
On
ahead.
the Amanda scale, she actually really, really likes this movie a lot,
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
which says something. She has a pretty strong critic's eye for, you know, she doesn't she isn't able to articulate the way she feels about movies in the same way we are, but she's kind of like, she just has a sense about it. She knows a bad movie and a good movie, and she thinks it's a good movie.
Nice.
I accept it.
Yeah.
Accept that. Yeah. Is there? I'm trying to remember. Is there a scenario in the film where Rob Schneider is supposed to like attempt to mug her, and then Adam Sandler saves her? Is that like he was trying to set up that scenario, but it backfires?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I thought that was kind of, like she ends up beating the shit out of him with a baseball bat or
with
something.
a bat. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it kind of it was a bit tropey, but still cute.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just, again, back to the premise. That must be so exhausting for Adam Sandler's character. So exhausting. I mean, I appreciate it as a creative exercise,
Yeah.
which, you know, says a lot about my whatever, my brain. But it just, man, it just bummed me out by the end. Cause I mean, it's a happy, sweet movie, but then it's also like, dude, what a hell her life is.
Yeah.
Like, she can't remember the biggest moments of her life. She has to rely on a videotape and journal and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time that Sean Astin was in one of his movies, returned again in Click.
Mm-hmm.
That movie, I'm I don't know how I feel about going to it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But,
We will talk about that because we have disagreeing viewpoints.
Yeah.
One thing I remember, another thing I remember enjoying about this that seemed almost out of character for a Sandler rom-commy movie was the clever use of music. If I remember correctly, there's on like something about her character, Drew Barrymore's character, on the days that she meets Adam Sandler's character, she will sing a particular song.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Beach Boys, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so yeah, like it was kind of. That's kind of a fun thing, like sort of a. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
It's a conceit. I mean, it's definitely a cheat.
Yeah, definitely.
When you said Beach Boys, I was waiting for you to say Beach Boys, right? Yeah, keep it that way. I thought that's what you were building up towards because Mike was singing it. So yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, I'm not a dick.
I
like it when Mike sings.
So do I.
Yeah, good save.
Nice.
Yeah, no. Makes me swim for a summer. Swim for the summer. Reference. Anyway. Yeah. So and it's funny, like, Mike, you mentioned that you own a lot of these movies in this segment. The only one that I own of this batch is Punch Drunk Love. And I mean, I could probably see myself seeing 50 First Dates again. I don't know if I necessarily own it, but I did like it enough to want to see it again at some point.
Yeah, me too.
So I guess that's about as high a compliment as I can give it.
Yeah.
Or any Sandler movie.
I think this one is better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, better than what?
Better than At Least You Wanted to Buy It.
Oh,
Is it the only one you own?
No, I own Funny People.
Oh, okay. That'll be fun to get to.
Yeah.
So, 50 First Dates was released in 2004. to round out our Summer of Sandler Part 2, it's interesting how you scheduled these, Matt. I'll full disclosure to our audience, Matt scheduled which ones we were going to talk about. This is the last Adam Sandler movie that was released while we three were in high school.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, December 17th, 2004, Spanglish.
Yes, and I didn't get a chance to watch this movie because I couldn't find a copy of it. My sister owns a copy of it on DVD, but I mean, she has 2 kids and her room's a mess. But I couldn't dig out a copy of it, but I really wanted to. I really wanted to because I remember really, really liking this movie. Again, this goes back to my fetish for rom-coms. And this is more of a rom-dram, isn't it?
It's absolutely a rom-dram.
Yes. So tell us how Spanglish is, Mike.
Oh, because Tiny, you didn't watch it either?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh, you've never seen it? Okay.
I think I watched it in the midst of an argument with my girlfriend at the time.
Oh.
So I literally remember nothing.
Okay. In this segment, Summer of Sandler Part 2, 2000 to 2004, it is far and away the best Adam Sandler movie. Nice. And I'm pretty sure it is my favorite of his altogether.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
It is not just a good Adam Sandler movie. It is a great movie. It is a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies, As Good as It Gets, was also directed by James L. Brooks. James L. Brooks, mostly known for his work on The Simpsons, early Simpsons stuff, but also directed As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson, which is one of my favorite movies, like I just said. So he did Spanglish, and I feel like not a lot of people have seen this movie, and it came at a very unfortunate time in Adam Sandler's career, obviously post Little Nicky, right after Anger Management. Punch Drunk Love was critically acclaimed but didn't do well. And so it was kind of like there was definite Adam Sandler fatigue. And this movie is fantastic. And it's a shame more people haven't seen it. I'm bummed for you, Tiny, that you haven't seen it. Because this segment would have had a very different tone, I think, if you guys had seen Spanglish for
Absolutely.
it. That's why I'm so mad that I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, I was this close to upping my Netflix subscription to a disc subscription just to get this movie.
Really?
Oh, wow.
That's how close I was to getting it.
I will do you one better and say I almost went to Best Buy to buy it.
Wow.
Wow, you should have. It's at least worth a $5 bin movie.
Oh, yeah, I totally should have, but I mean, I just, I didn't have time. I need to sleep.
Well, based on what you're saying, I will definitely see it at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add
It's
something.
just so great. It's about relationships and it's about family. What was I going to say? On the poster for it and on the DVD, clearly Adam Sandler is front and center. He's by far the biggest star in it, despite Téa Leoni and Cloris Leachman in it. Adam Sandler is the star of the movie. But what it wisely does, where all of the other Adam Sandler movies don't do, he's not the focal point. He's at least not the center of the movie. Right. And the center of the movie is newcomer, I guess, Shelby Bruce, who is Cristina Moreno, who plays the daughter of the nanny of the house where Adam Sandler and his wife, John Klasky and Deborah Klasky, live. And they're, of course, in shambles. Téa Leoni is a wreck. And it plays on Christina's reactions to that family. Christina and her mother are Mexican immigrants, working for Adam Sandler, whose family is very wealthy, and he's the best chef in the United States, according to a review. And it's just cool to see those relationships evolve throughout the movie, and it's about this mother and her daughter and that kind of relationship, and it's just so well done. It's a shame. This is far and away the I wish he would do movies like this movie for me.
Question for you, Mike.
Sure.
This came out like what, 2005?
04.
04. Okay.
Yeah.
So this
Christmas
was
04.
before he had kids, or like he's made the switch to family comedy kind of things. So would you say that this is like a good middle ground of that, to where he has maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say that he should have never had kids, but maybe if no, but I mean, do you think that this is a good indicator of where he is in his life? Because he he doesn't have the pull of making movies for his kids, but he wants to mature as an actor and as an artist and all that. But then again, also
but Reign Over Me and Funny People are evidence against that point.
That's true. And again, I don't like he didn't have anything to do with the writing of it or the directing. I don't think.
Yeah.
But we could ask. Yeah. And you kind of asked this before, is that like Punch Drunk Love? Is this an example of P.T. Anderson or James L. Brooks getting a good performance out of Adam Sandler, or good material getting a good performance out of a subpar actor, or can Adam Sandler act? And this, I think, more than Punch Drunk Love or more than Mr. Deeds, I guess, or the earlier ones, Big Daddy. This is Adam Sandler can act.
Okay. I remember thinking that when I saw
There are takes he does in this film that he doesn't do in any of his other movies, except perhaps Reign Over Me, where he doesn't do the Adam Sandler laugh. He doesn't really do the voice. There are times where you can tell he's a funny type of guy, but you actually see pain in his eyes, which is funny because this comes only a year after Anger Management, where you see nothing but death in his eyes.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to have to dig it up and buy it, and then maybe we can add something to part 4 or part 3 and talk more fully about this. But I do remember really enjoying it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Apologies to listeners for that.
Yeah,
me and Matt kind of dropped the ball.
We kind of did, but
we're busy.
That's great.
We are.
Luckily, it was my favorite, so I had enough to say about it.
Right.
I highly recommend this one. It's the high point of his career up to this point. I'm interested to see when you guys see it, if you'll agree that it's better than Punch Drunk Love, because I definitely think it is.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good discussion about that, I think. Nice. So, for sure.
We'll see. Yeah. And that, my friends, does it for Summer of Sandler Part 2.
Yes.
Now that we've discussed it, are there any more overarching themes that you guys want to talk about? Any overarching feelings over the whole thing?
Just that I really, really want a Frosty.
It's interesting. These are our high school years.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
And we grew out of Adam Sandler in our high school years.
And we haven't really talked about where we were in our lives during these movies. I mean, I don't think I sought out any of these movies when they came out.
Same here.
Like the closest I can come to is saying that I sought out Punch Drunk Love because I was a high school kid who was desperate for desperate to become a pretentious movie snob.
Art movies.
Art movies, yeah.
Where they do weird psychedelic colors.
This movie's deep because it has long takes of a street with a piano on it.
Yeah.
So
dark rooms in a blue suit. He's wearing a red tie when he's angry. I know that.
Even Hawaii looks dreary.
Yeah. It does.
God damn it.
That's awesome.
That's like 15 or 16-year-old Matt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So from a douchebag high school kid's perspective, sorry for all of our high school listeners. You'll laugh in 5 years, I promise.
You will.
Yeah.
It is a good. That was the one that I sought out, but the other ones, I mean, I'd grown out of Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
It's funny that I'm such a nostalgic person. Half of the reason I do this podcast is to talk about some of the nostalgic things that I love to watch. But I didn't develop that, I don't think, until just after high school, I guess, because, or maybe not. I guess part of the reason I saw any of the Adam Sandler movies during this time period were because of nostalgia. I made a big deal in our summer movies episode where I talked about the summer of 1999 where I moved, and that was Big Daddy. And Little Nicky was the first movie that came out when I lived in Indiana. So we made a big deal that holiday season about going back and visiting my friends from Aurora, Illinois, and seeing Little Nicky in the theater there. So all of these movies, it's very interesting. I lived in Corydon, Indiana when I saw them.
Huh.
All of the others I lived in Evansville.
Wow.
Huh.
Except for The Longest Yard. Longest Yard came out in the summer, but that's the next one. But
right.
I digress. That's, it's not really that important. But there is a weird that I didn't have the nostalgia for these movies. I still don't have the nostalgia for these movies. And I think that's a pretty good indicator of, despite the dramatic turn he took, movies like Punch Drunk Love, my personal favorite, Spanglish, it's really a forgettable time in his career. Except Little Nicky, which is unforgettable in its atrociousness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I'll just reinforce the point I made that this was the epitome, the apex of Adam Sandler discovering that he can sort of just milk his fan base.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he's like, well, people know who I am. They like anything I do, so I'll just make anything. Yeah. Or basically, I'm just going to get my friends together and make a dumbass movie.
Right.
Something along those lines. I'm going to turn in the lowest possible effort performance I can give, and people are going to come pay to see it. That's what, with the exception of Punch Drunk Love and Spanglish and maybe some of the others to an extent.
Yeah.
I have a feeling but with the little like comedy gems like Sort of Mr. Deeds and 50 First Dates, I feel like those were almost happy accidents.
Yeah.
Like they were supposed to be almost as bad as Little Nicky or Anger Management.
Right.
But once he got on set, he was like, this is actually pretty fun. I'm having a good time. And it came through on the screen barely and made them decent movies.
I'm curious where he was at in his personal life. Was he upset about something when he filmed Anger Management?
I think he was happy. I mean, that's when he met his wife. It was like just before they started having kids. I don't understand.
Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he wanted Church's chicken for Little Nicky instead of Popeyes.
Maybe.
I'm not going to let that go, guys.
Adam, if you're listening, come on the podcast and talk to us.
Yeah, totally. Let's just, we shit on all your movies, but.
Yeah. By the way, just to drop in really quick, that sound effect you heard earlier of the fart, Matt added that in later despite our best efforts to get him to keep it in. So, anyway. All right. Well, I guess that concludes part 2 of Summer of Sandler.
Yep.
So stay tuned for our next segment, Summer of Sandler Part 3. Could be in a couple weeks. I don't know when we'll record it. The questions of that podcast will be, can Burt Reynolds save his career? Can a gay marriage movie save his career? What about Judd Apatow? What happens to Adam Sandler next?
Yes. Stay tuned, listeners. Should we throw
Or don't, whatever. It's still Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
The Grave Plot Podcast. Covering all things horror.
The original Amityville Horror and Amityville Horror 2 are the only ones worth watching.
News.
The big news is Trick or Treat 2 is happening.
Reviews.
What was the point of that scene? knows? What's the point of this movie?
Special guests.
We're here with writer-director Eric Ingram. How you doing, Eric?
Good. How are you guys?
The Grave Blood Podcast. Hosted by Skeletoni.
And this demon, it looks like Uncle Deadly from the Muppets.
And Taylor of Terror.
It's a dramatic slow-motion reveal, like we're all supposed to go, oh my god, it's turkey!
Subscribe now on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or at graveplotpodcast.com. The Grave Plot Podcast. Dig it.
Yeah. So does that about do it?
That'll do it.
That's it for me.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, before I get to the count off and everything, I just want to say I hope you guys enjoyed our B-roll episode last week. It was kind of an impromptu thing. We were supposed to record this episode last week, but just logistics of it. Mike was moving into his new house and all that stuff, so it was it was kind of hectic. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast, and thank you to Star Tissue for providing our awesome opening theme music. You can find more of their music at soundcloud.com/startissue. Make sure to rate and review us on iTunes and vote for us for Podcast of the Month on podcastland.com. Also, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. Follow each of us on Twitter. You can find me, Matt, at ObsessiveViewer, Tiny is at ObsessiveTiny, and Mike is at I am Mike White. Also check out ObsessiveViewer.com, where we're posting content fairly regularly. I'm in the midst of doing decade reviews, where I'm taking reviews that I wrote in 2004 when I was a wee teenager, the aforementioned douchebag film critic teenager. and I'm updating the reviews. I'm rewatching the movies, writing new reviews, and comparing the two reviews. It's a lot of fun. Man, a decade's a long time, guys. And also, I also mentioned the franchise review of Planet of the Apes. And also in October, I'll be doing the Flash reviews. Also, check out obsessivebooknerd.com, where we write book reviews and provide commentary on the evolving world of reading. And also check out Tiny's side project, The Secular Perspective, where we talk about, it's a podcast examining the secular world and religious worlds and how they collide and they work together and how they interact with one another in society and everything. And finally, if you have any thoughts on the podcast, suggestions for future topics, or want to send us a sound file of your thoughts on anything that we've talked about ever, email us. You can email us, email me at matt@obsessiveviewer.com. Tiny is tiny@obsessiveviewer.com. And Mike is mike@obsessiveviewer.com. Yeah, that about does it. Yeah, so thanks for listening, guys. Anything else you guys want to say?
Gonna go
I think so.
Gonna go get a Frosty and some Popeye's chicken.
Yeah. Damn right.
Yeah.
God.
No.
Barely better.
Barely better.
But
No.
still really bad.
My arm hit the mic.
Yeah.
We have really hit an Adam Sandler level on this podcast.
We really have.
Good job, Matt.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for listening, guys.
See you later.
See ya. Thank you.
Quick one, maybe.
An hour 22 for that one episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That one was much better than the last one.
Oh, I agree. We had a lot more to talk about.
Good job, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good job, guys.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely.
I know I was pretty great, but I'm joking.
All right.
Yeah.